Hello everyone, welcome to 100 Days Challenge of Anthropology. Based on poll, we have restarted and most of the people are now active again to participate in this. We have seen that many of the people are preferring the recorded version, and the other thing that most of the students are now into prelims mode. Okay, so those who are doing prelims, you can continue it, but if you feel that you can do a little bit of your anthropology and your anthropology is not ready for the mains, so I would say that give some of your time, at least one and a half hour, for practicing anthropology, because just studying alone won't help in the final examination. So this is the right time for you to practice. If you need any help, you can reach out at this on Telegram. So I'll try to do the best possible. Okay, so now the question: thick description in the age of artificial intelligence. Can an algorithm ever truly interpret culture? See, first of all, we need to understand that the question is little tricky and it is more applied. We didn't practice uh, in the past, or we generally don't read it in the books. Now, how to answer this question? Is it really possible for us? See, I would say that if the question directly comes up in the examination, so one thing what you can do is first you can introduce, okay? So you can introduce who gave this concept. Even now also, how you will be writing. The concept was given by Clifford Geertz. In which work? Interpretation of culture. Borrowed from whom? Gilbert Ryle. Okay, so this you will be writing. And what is thick description? You will be explaining. Okay, thick description, you explain it and write it. And then if I don't know anything, because assuming that as a normal student I may not be reading what is artificial intelligence and its application. Okay, so I might be reading only what is there in the standard books. So if I go to exam hall, how will I apply my knowledge? So first of all, I'll understand what is thick description, because I have already read it very neatly, that it is nothing but an interpretative method, okay, in anthropology, where the researcher will not only record what is there, but they will also enter each layer. Okay, so suppose there is something, okay, there is some event. They don't only describe the event, but they also describe each layer of the event and the context of the event. Okay, so using the symbols that are present over there, so they are trying to interpret, they're trying to contextualize. And at the same time, if you see, Clifford Geertz talks about reflexivity. Reflexivity is that you are making a mentioning of your bias that is present when you're studying someone else. Okay, so these are the things that are part of thick description. Okay, so you'll be writing it how the Clifford Geertz understands culture and what are all involved in the thick description. Now, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a tool. What it does through machine learning, it will try to create patterns. Okay, so that means it converts human behavior that is there into various patterns and data points. But now, thick description in the age of artificial intelligence. So through AI is the thick description possible. So that I'm going to write here. So I'll tell that AI, when it converts it into data points, it cannot take into consideration, because see, whatever the bias that is there in the data will automatically be reflected here. So whatever the reflexivity that was there in the thick description, that would be missing here. And at the same time, AI will give same answer for any kind of response, because here you it will lack, there is no emotion, lacks emotion and lacks meaning. Because if you see, based on data, it interprets everything, and it tries to say that how much it is spent, how much it has costed, but in what situation the spending went more, in what situations the spending was less. So the emotion and the meaning, okay, so here quantification will happen, but the meaning will be missed. So whatever we have seen, the context will be missed, and the reflexive thought that should generally be present to avoid the bias, that will be missed, and the interpretation will be missed. So henceforth, what is needed is that even when you are studying algorithms that are there, even then also ethnographic study becomes important, and there's a need for thick description within AI also. See, I know Daniel Miller and Heather Host. Daniel Miller and Heather Host, these are the anthropologists who have done the work digital anthropology. So this, I think my students from foundation and other batch, they know it. So Daniel Miller and Heather Host, they've conducted an experiment on a child who has been using social media continuously for months and years, and they have taken the images of the brain. Okay, so they have taken the images of the brain, and they have observed that the area known as amygdala, which is known for dealing with the stress, so the gray matter here, the gray matter that deals with this stress has reduced. Okay, so now when the area of, or the proportion of the brain which deals with the stress reduces, then you are easily prone to the shocks and you can't deal with the stress. So here, this I have discussed in terms of how culture or how technology influences the evolution part. So though this is short term, but definitely we can understand that in the long term we can see that how cultural factors can influence the biological factors. So in this context, I have discussed there, while discussing this, I have also said that Daniel Miller and other host, they have said now people are interacting on the social media platforms, but here it doesn't mean that they forgot their social aspects completely. Even here also you notice that they give importance to gender, they give importance to caste, their identity, their meaning. So that means in the, that means even in the, okay, so that means even, just a second. So here you can quote Daniel Miller and Heather Host while writing this answer, because this is from the knowledge that we have. I'll be providing you other extra scholars which you can quote, but you can write these people, because see, this work is in 2012. So there, in digital platforms also, you notice there are interactions that are happening, and they are socially and symbolically embedded. Okay, even the technological platforms are socially and symbologically embedded. And here, when you are studying the algorithms based on these interactions, there you can't do it randomly. So therefore there is a need for ethnographic ethnographic interpretation, not the computational interpretation. That means you can't just randomly do it. Okay, so with this information to this extent, I can write an answer. Okay, I'll say that there is no reflexivity. Okay, so but if you want to write a supportive scholar here, okay, so you can use the supportive scholar that Ruha Benjamin in Race After Technology and Safia Noble in Algorithms of Oppression showed that AI system reproduces biases encoded in the datasets. Okay, so which is distorting the cultural representation. That means all the races are not equally represented there. So it is distorting the cultural representation. You know that normally in the real life, some people are not given preference in the jobs. Today, AI is not referring people belonging to particular caste and race. So that means here there is no reflexivity, there is complete bias that is involved. Okay, there is no context that is there. Even one more scholar which you can add to your answer, that is Nick Seaver. So Nick Seaver in the essay Algorithms as Culture argues that even whatever that is being done on the technological platforms, they are cultural constructs. Okay, so if I'm typing something based on my social logic only, I'm typing it because of my own social influence. So even if you want to understand algorithms, it should be understood as algorithms which is backed by the culture. Okay, so hence, if you want to study algorithms, you should be studying it ethnographically. Henceforth, there is a need for thick description even in the times of AI, in the times of artificial intelligence. Okay, so algorithms truly cannot interpret culture without studying it ethnographically in totality. Okay, henceforth, it is important. And you can add this Enrico Moch. Enrico Moch in his reflective paper, The Delegation of Thought, Education and Judgment in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. 2025, this was published in East African Journal of Interdisciplinary Studies. So here Enrico Mosch revisits Gede's notion of thick description to interrogate how AI systems externalize and standardize human interpretation. So he says that AI's algorithmic logic represents thin description. It does not give thick description, and it is doing thin description of culture, a surface level coding of behavior and language. There is no moral and interpretative depth that Clifford Geertz said that one should be noticing it. And henceforth, he says that there is a need for Clifford Geertz thick description to be applied here, and he has emphasized that without it there is no meaning. Okay, so to what is being studied, and henceforth there's the need for thick description. And you can conclude that thick description endures as anthropology's hallmark because it captures symbolic, contextual, and reflexive nature of human life. And you can also say that the dimensions which are sophisticated, okay, so that AI cannot replicate. So while AI can aid ethnography, you can write, while AI can aid ethnography by mapping large scale behavioral trends, it remains limited to thin description, which is devoid of interpretative depth. So that you can conclude saying that the hallmark of anthropology remains or stands tall even in the age of artificial intelligence. Okay, so one question as homework for you, small question, that discuss the contribution of symbolic anthropology to the understanding of medical anthropology. Okay, so you can think how, like, symbols of purity and pollution can affect health seeking behavior in India. Okay, so think on these terms, just try to write an answer, and you can share at the rate of, or you can upload on a Google Drive link and post in the comment section. So whenever, instead of sending to me directly, you can post in the comment section so that I know for which topic you are writing. So whenever I find time, I'll just try to give the feedback on it. Okay, so try to write this answer. That's all for today. So with this, we are done with anthropological thought. Tomorrow we'll be doing unit 7 and 8. Thank you.